by now. I think these kind of monthly sessions of Maisai and I always bring about young adult perspectives and young adult experiences of what Sai means to them, and how they relate to the beloved Bhagwan, and how do they relate to the principle of Sai. And to that end, I think we continue this series this week. We were supposed to have 3 speakers, one being Sister Meera, of course, herself. Really excited to hear her story and her journey. And the other speaker will be Sister Visalakshi from Dallas. And that's the beauty that this Maisai and I has unearthed so many new speakers in one sense, because so many folks with so many wonderful stories have emerged through the Maisai and I series, incidentally. And she again is someone I'm very excited to hear. The third person was Nikita. Unfortunately, Nikita is not able to make it today. And so it'll be just the 2 of them. And so Sister Visalakshi, is that you on by any chance?
Yeah, hi. Hello, everyone. Sairam.
So yeah, I mean, so the way this pretty much is we'll begin with you, sister, if that's fine with you, and we can begin with a small introduction, and then we move on after we get done with you. The general format is we open up the floor for any thoughts or questions and stuff of that sort, and then we move on to the next, the next person sharing, and so that'll be Sister Meera today. So with that said and done, I think we can begin with 3 ohms, sister, and if you could do the honors and then give us a small introduction before you begin. Sairam.
Yeah. Sairam, everyone. Yeah, can you hear? Yeah. So
and then a small.
Thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity. First of all, I'm so blessed to be here on this platform, coordinating and communicating and interacting with you all, because I never knew before that we have a big community here in Dallas. So this is my big opportunity, and I feel very blessed. Sairam. So myself, Visalakshi, I am basically from Tirupati. I came to US 2 years back, last year. So this is my second year, almost finishing second year. Yeah. I live in Irving, Dallas.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And it just so that you know, I don't know if you know, so I'm Sriram. I'm the regional coordinator along with Meera, who you'll hear from very soon. And so I'm from Austin and Meera is from Houston. So you're going to meet more of us across this entire region.
Yeah, I appreciate all of your efforts coordinating and following up each and every person to participate in all the events. So I would love to participate in any of the event, in every event that you would conduct in future or nearby. So I feel this basically as blessed, a blessed thing for me. Yeah.
No, very happy to have you as well.
Yeah. Thank you. So I would like to start my experience. Yeah. So my family is an ardent follower of Swami Sai Baba for almost 30 years now. So I am born and brought up in Tirupati, Andhra Pradesh. So I used to visit Puttaparthi with my grandmother during my childhood, and also with my mom. And when I'm grown, I visited Puttaparthi many times with my grandmother, taking bus from Tirupati. So I remember bhajans happening almost every day at my grandma's village near Rajahmundry, and in my hometown also. Me and my mom participated weekly bhajans near our home. So going forward, for past few years, I could not do regular puja for Swami, but I never missed offering prasad. So whatever I cook at home, I used to offer him. Whatever I do, I never missed to offer Swami whatever I cook. Before we eat, before we have, I used to offer Swami first, and then we used to have. We have a in the US here. We have a small pocket calendar of Swami, where which I feel very close to my heart. I used to share all my things and whatever I feel, my feelings and all, to Swami, because we have that time difference to share to our parents in India. So I feel Swami close to my heart. So I used to tell everything to Swami before I share to my mom. Yeah. Last month, we have to shift our home. So while we are shifting the things, I unfortunately lost the pocket calendar because that is very small. So it got missed. I do not know how it got missed. We used to paste it on the door, actually. Door in front of the puja mandir. So it got missed, and I searched a lot, all the home and everywhere, but I never got it. So I was in the feeling like I missed my God, and I missed someone in our house. I missed one person in my home. So that feeling, I cannot tell you in my words, but the feeling that I'm missing something, I couldn't tell you in words. So weeks later, my friend who was traveling from India, so she brought me the same kind of photo of Swami, but of bigger size. And that brought me goosebumps, you know. I never thought he will come back to me again. You know, in some way, in the form of my friend, he came back to me, and I felt very happy. And I shared this incident to my mommy and my grandmother, and you know, this brought me the feeling that I'm really blessed, and Swami is with me, and my offerings of the prasad, I mean the food what I make at home, my offerings did not go in vain. Swami is there at in my home. Swami is there with me, and he's accepting, I mean he's taking my prasad, he's listening to me. So in the form of my friend from India, so he came back to me, and I felt that brought me. I used to hear my mom's experiences and my grandma's experiences, but I never had such an experience. So this is the first one I had, and then I thought, so I'm blessed, and I do not take anything to my mind, whatever this feeling, that happiness or sadness. Swami is there with me to give always the solution. So this incident I will never forget. So yeah, and again the last week I joined with you all, so that is another happiest thing. I would love to share.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, just from the way you speak itself, I can see that genuineness with which you're narrating, and especially that pocketbook incident. You know, I know that you've had some, you like you mentioned right now, your mother and grandmother have had experiences with Bhagwan that has deeply, you know, impacted you while growing up. Would you want to share some of them as well? Because that's a big part of who you are and your connection to Swami, right? In one sense, growing up.
So when myself and my grandma went to Puttaparthi, see from Tirupati it is 7 hours to Puttaparthi. We used to have a bus in the morning, and by evening we will be reaching Puttaparthi. So it was such a nice experience. When we reached Puttaparthi, it was almost evening, and we wanted to stay back because that day Swami didn't visit the hall. Bhajan hall. So we desperately wanted to see Swami that time. So we just wanted to wait for one more day because people around were saying tomorrow Swami might come to visit the hall, Bhajan hall. So we have to stay that night. So that time I was very young girl, and my grandma do not know how to interact with the team. I mean, to ask for the room to stay there inside the Puttaparthi. We have many rooms and hotels to stay outside the Sannidhi. So we wanted to stay inside the Sannidhi so that we can have that feeling we are staying along with the Swami. So we were just thinking, how can we get the room here? We do not know how to coordinate with the people. My grandma do not speak English. So we have that language barrier there. I was a small girl and I do not know. I'm just going with the flow with my grandma. And so we were waiting there, and there was a long line in the rooms for the rooms to hire inside the Sannidhi. So we were just waiting, and we thought of moving back to Tirupati again because we couldn't. We were so disappointed, so because there was a long queue and we do not know how to get the room there. So by the time we started we decided to go back to Tirupati. Someone came to us, some person I do not remember, but some person came to my grandma. He told everything like, so this is the price of the room, so we have this room available. Though we had a long line in the rooms for hire in that counter, the person came to us and he offered us the room key along with the key, and he came through with us to the room, and he offered us the room. So that moment, I never forget that moment. And we stayed for 2 days and we visited each and every corner of the Sannidhi, and we really enjoyed the divinity there, and we participated in many bhajans. The next day Swami came to visit. He came in the car, and he was sitting in the car in the front seat, and through the window he was seeing us. Yeah. So he saw everyone. He saw it. That was a big hall that I never seen, that I have never seen. It's a very big hall, and the peacefulness, the environment gives the divinity, the divinity, the spirituality, everything. I cannot forget. I'll never forget. So yeah, we thought Swami only came in the form of that person and offered us the room, and he wanted us to stay with him. He wanted us to participate. He wanted us to he blessed us actually. So because of that, we stayed there for 2 days. We never whenever we plan for Puttaparthi, we go in the morning and come back in the evening generally. So that was only one time we stayed for 2 days, and we really enjoyed the bhajans there, and we had the prasad there. And we came back. Yeah. So that was one experience I had with my grandma. And my grandma, she has very good experiences through our family. Like she prayed a lot for my family, and because of her prayers and because of Swami's blessings, we are now very happily living here. Yeah, thank you, Swami, and thank you, Grandma. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. Just the way you speak itself, Sister Visalakshi, I don't know, there's a certain simplicity, a certain genuineness, and
Yeah,
there's a certain love from within you.
yeah,
It's so nice to hear you.
yeah,
Just and what I find very interesting in your in just these 10-15 minutes that I've heard you speak is how amazing that you're able to see Swami, say in a picture, see Swami in a friend who brought you that picture, see Swami
yeah,
to that person who came out of the blue and said there
yeah,
is a room for you. And so that to me is almost so interesting that you're able to always see and feel, like you mentioned, Swami
yeah,
is always with me. That
yeah,
feeling is most crucial.
yeah,
Sometimes at least I speak for myself, I forget that feeling. And it almost seems to me that you're blessed to always have that feeling, harbor that feeling,
yeah,
and keep that feeling with you.
yeah.
And so is this feeling something that you've had ever since growing up, because seeing your mom and your grandmother, where do you think this whole feeling of constantly having that presence of Bhagwan along with you came from? Can you
Yeah,
even recollect from where?
yeah. Whenever my mom and grandma used to share their experiences, I always used to feel why these ladies are um, deeply believing in someone who is not here,
Hmm.
who we cannot see directly, who we cannot see physically. So when that kind of experience came to me, then I realized that there is something spirituality behind this.
Hmm.
Yeah, there is someone who is making us to walk through our life.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that is important. That thing when I got is very recently, like when we moved out of the old house,
Hmm.
and when he came back to me, then I realized my offerings did not go waste. He's there with me. He came back to me.
Hmm.
That I feel very happy, and I feel very blessed.
Hmm.
See, by telling experience is different thing, and by experience themselves is a different thing.
Correct.
Uh, by telling just words
Correct.
does not give that feel. By only experiencing will make them happy, will make them realize.
Correct.
So that's how I realized. Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
nice actually. And yeah, I can feel that you realized, because
yeah,
from the way you're saying it itself, I know it's comes from born out of experience for you.
yeah, yeah,
And it's so sweet and so nice to hear. And I'm so happy that you found us. And when I mean us, I say the YAs and the Sai group in Dallas. And you said just last week that you got in touch with the Sai group.
yeah.
Is that what you were saying? Oh
Yes, yes,
wow! And within a week, you're on my side, and I
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
you know.
that's what I feel I am blessed.
No,
Yeah,
it's beautiful. It so happens that way. I think I don't know. You've been here for 2 years in Dallas, and have you earlier tried to look for a Sai center, or tried to ever wondered if there's a Sai group out here? Why has it taken you 2 years? I'm
uh,
curious.
I was waiting for my experience
Uh,
to join you all. Yeah,
No, it's so beautiful.
yeah,
I'm so glad that you've joined us,
yeah,
and we're so lucky to have people like you. We're finding a lot of these sort of people like you who have moved very recently into the region, who have such beautiful, simple but beautiful experiences of
yeah,
Bhutan.
yeah,
And thank you so much, sister.
yeah. I wish every generations have to experience these kind of divine experiences, and I wish everyone could get the same chance to uh, share everyone what they have gone through, and everyone who do not believe like me earlier, they
Hmm.
have to believe. Yeah. Yeah,
I like the conviction which you say they have to believe.
yeah.
uh, it's really nice. If
Yeah.
anyone else wants to has any thoughts or questions for Sister Visalakshi, please feel free to share your thoughts or questions.
Hey, Sairam, Visalakshi, this is Ravi Uncle from Houston. You said
Hi.
you were in Dallas for 2 years
Yeah,
before you came to know about the YAs?
yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I only have to second what Sriram has been saying. I think the best way to describe it, I would say, is you have the simplicity, purity, humility, and all without any publicity. And that is the key thing, the way you describe things. The first thing you said is, I love to be a part of this group. And I think the one thing that I admired is I love your enthusiasm. You
Yeah,
might have the ability, capability, but the fact that your availability is what that we admire. And
yeah,
the other wonderful experience you said was you lost your small pocket calendar. But I
yeah,
feel I think the way you described it, it was so naive, so candid, so pure. I think it is your intense desire that made Swami to get you back, not only with same picture, but a bigger one.
yeah,
And that is, I think it is all because of if we have, if the cause is noble and the desire is pure, I feel Swami will make it happen. And that's exactly what you're experiencing.
yeah,
I think I would say, I would take one more step and saying your heart is a permanent pocket.
yeah,
If we can keep Swami in it, Swami does not live outside for him to respond. He is within us that we need to connect. And I think the experience would help us. And I would like to welcome you. And we are very, very fortunate to have you as a part of our group. And
thank
I
you.
think with Sriram and Meera taking the lead role, you are in the right group of people. So
Yeah,
I would love to meet you when I come to Dallas,
yes,
and wish you all the best. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
yeah,
And I think I always feel that Thanksgiving doesn't happen once a year, but it is, we have to make, uh, we have to be thankful every day. And this is the virtue that we need to pursue, I would say. And
yeah,
I want to welcome you. Hope to meet you soon. Sairam.
Sairam.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ravi Uncle. Especially the heart is a pocket in which Swami is always residing. That's another one of those nuggets that every My Sai and I session is never complete without Ravi Uncle sharing. And that's something I'll certainly remember. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? If not, I'll probably give you guys another few seconds. If not, we will move on next to Visalakshi. You'll know why Meera is Meera in one sense, and why we adore her, and why Swami importantly, whether and Swami adores her and has constantly called upon her. She's grown up in the Sai circles out here, and constantly and repeatedly has Swami called upon her, and you'll know why because she's up next. But just before we get on to her, if there's anybody else who has any final thoughts or questions, feel free to share. If not, I think Meera, it's all yours.
Salam to all of you today. First of all, I want to welcome Sister Visalakshi also to Region 10. And thank you so much for even sharing your experience today. I think it takes a lot for somebody that's brand new to a place to be able to come and just be so vulnerable, right? And share your experience with essentially a bunch of strangers, right? So I think that just shows what kind of person you are. And I agree with Sriram also that there's a certain sincerity, there's a certain genuineness that came from your delivery, and I'm just so excited to have you. And Sriram can second that as well. And we're just elated to have you and looking forward to seeing your contributions in the YA circle. So with that, I want to start with, my humble pranams to Swami's divine feet. There are a lot of you on this call that probably already know who I am. But for those that don't know, my name is Meera Rangaswamy. I'm from the Houston Center. the South Houston Center, and I currently serve as the Region 10 Female YA Coordinator. And so, this week was one of gratitude in a couple ways, right? We had Swami's birthday, along with the Thanksgiving holidays. So first, I want to say how thankful I am to each and every one of you for the roles that you've played in my life thus far, whether it be directly, indirectly. I'm just grateful for that. And to Swami, of course, right? Words can't even describe to begin how you've affected my life. I feel like I'm indebted to you forever and always. I'm usually a very private person, so it was kind of tough to put some of these experiences like into words, but I just pray that he speaks through me, and I'm just able to speak from the heart and connect with all of you guys today. So I want to start off actually with an interesting story as to, how this even came about. Like, why am I speaking to you today? So, after a rough year, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit, I had voiced to Sriram that if I come out of this and it materializes favorably for me, I was going to speak in a session before the end of the year. So I got my result. And to keep to my promise, I told Sriram to put me in, but only if it comes out that way, right? I don't want to force myself into a spot. So in true enthusiastic Sriram fashion, he just puts my name down on the list there. But little did I know that it wasn't even going to stop there, that it wasn't going to go there. On the first day of Akhanda Bhajan, our South Houston YA coordinator, Lakshmi Keshavan, messaged me and said that names were put in front of Swami, and my name was chosen to speak for the month of November for this session. So it seems that Swami has made it official now, and I can't turn back. So, so here it goes. So I want to thank Sriram and Swami for giving me the opportunity to speak with all you guys today. So, everybody has their individual relationships with Swami, right? Some will call him a friend, some will say that he's a teacher, some will say he's a guide, maybe some will just say he's all of the above. But, however we choose to define that relationship, there's no doubt that he's always there for like each and every one of us. So today I want to talk about, just the different roles that Swami has played in my life, and how those, roles ended up shaping me as a person. So the first one I want to get into is a parent. And I'm sure that, some of the parents on this call may be able to identify with some of these things that I'm about to say. But parents only want what's best for their kids. And they want them to be the best that they can be. And as a child, the only way to learn is to commit the mistakes, take the lessons away from the mistakes. Honestly, Swami has never failed me, but there's definitely been moments where I feel like I failed him. And he had to use like different ways just to kind of reel me back in. So I entered Swami's fold as an SSC student at the age of 8. And at that young age, I didn't understand the depth of the relationship that was about to form. And one of the things that's taught in the SSC classroom or even within the Sai Center itself, right, is that everything happens for its own reason. Whether we want to believe it or not, that's kind of like the baseline there. And I actually learned this in a difficult way in June of 2009, when a good friend of mine was unexpectedly killed. He was a good person, but he just kind of lost his way somewhere, and got involved into some things that he shouldn't have. But then he came out to turn his life around. And then after, shortly after that is when the incident happened. And so after the initial shock wore off, I became really angry. I became extremely angry. And it was more like a child that gets angry with their mother after, something goes wrong, or even the parent, right? I began just to question everything I've ever known. And, because I couldn't understand how something so grave could happen to like a good person. So, I even used to ask my mom, if Swami is supposed to be God, shouldn't he protect those that need it? You know, um, so I completely pulled away. I refused to attend anything center related. But after realizing that I had my own responsibilities, like within the center, like with my SSE kids and all of that, and bhajans and those things, I began coming again, but it was really mechanical. Just going through the motions, because I was still really mad, and my trust was just shaken after that. So then my mom got worried. And she said to me something that I still remember now, that you can't just simply give up because of things you can't control. You have to trust in God for the pain and the hardship to go away, and it will never completely disappear, but that faith and trust that God will do the right thing will start the healing process. And, this became like the lesson that I took away. And so after hearing that, I knew it was none other than Swami that was talking to my mom. And it was kind of like to bring his child back, right? So, it was those soothing words that, assured me that everything was going to be okay. And I was able to, just kind of start that healing process there. So that's one role, right? The parent role. Now I kind of want to go into that best friend kind of guide role. Everybody has that one friend in their life, that they can, ask anything to. They'll give you advice, tell you when you're wrong, and then, give you that reassurance, that support, and all that. So Swami has played that role for me numerous times. One such time that I needed that reassurance was, back in September of 2016. I was in a relationship with somebody that, that started getting into kind of like those serious talks. And there were signs from the beginning that this was not like the ideal relationship for me. But I wanted just so bad for it to happen. And, I figured that, if this person was around me enough that he could just that he would just change his ways. Right. And I really believe that, that's kind of where that guide piece comes in, right? Because to me, it's like, it was that intuition that it's like Swami's voice is talking to you. Right. That's what I really believe. And honestly, I probably should have listened much earlier. But so the relationship just didn't end well, and I decided to end it. And the other person didn't take it very well. He threatened to take like extreme measures and things like that. So I had to get his family involved. And I left the situation. So the day that I left the situation, I started feeling like really heavy, you know. Um, so after the conversation, I went to the altar, and I cried in front of Swami, and I asked him, like, did I make the right decision? I was like, was that the right move? And if it was, like, I want you to give me like this concrete sign, so like I just know, right? And so later that evening, there was there's a YA in Houston that used to hold bhajans like every week or every other week on Tuesdays and or Wednesdays, I believe. And so this situation happened around, Ganesh Chaturthi time. And so, I went there, for bhajans. And, that day I got the opportunity to sing 2 bhajans. Now, just because there was, not that many singers, or I don't know how that happened, but I did. So the way that it's a beautiful altar in this YA's house. And, there's a tall picture of Swami like in the middle. And then on top, there's like 4 or 5 flowers on the top. And then there's numerous idols around, just decorated immaculately, like beautifully, right? And so, that day I got to sing 2 bhajans. So on my second bhajan, 3 flowers fell that day when I sang that bhajan.
Oh,
And, 2 came from the center of that tall picture. And then 1 came from the Ganesha idol, right? And I happened to be singing a Ganesha bhajan because it was Ganesh Chaturthi. It wasn't like the one that started everything, but so that was there. So to me, that was my reassurance that Swami was listening to me, and that he was always listening, right? So it's like I asked for the sign, it's like he gave it to me. So, it's like, so, just like that best friend that just loves you no matter what and just listens to you, it's like Swami's that version of unconditional love, right? I think. So now I kind of want to go into that to that teacher role, right? And I believe that Swami is literally the best teacher you can ever have. It's like he'll throw unexpected pop quizzes at you. He'll throw on like full on at you. And as the divine student, because we're all divine students, right? In this case, we won't even get the answers right away most of the time. And how fair is that really, right? It's like, come on, just give us the answers. But there's always like a bigger and better reason why. And I think you just have to wait for those. And so Swami taught me the lesson of patience and surrender last year. So I unfortunately lost my job due to the COVID pandemic, right? And so, when that happens, it's like immediately it's kind of like that ego kicks in a little bit, like, oh, like it's not going to be long, like I'll just find something in no time. And that wasn't the case for me, right? And it eventually started taking like a real toll. I just got angry at everybody. I didn't feel like talking to people. I was just constantly irritated. And you know how they say, Swami always says that anger is like the most vicious enemy, right? And I just felt so out of character at that, at a certain period of time. I felt so dejected because I just couldn't understand why I wasn't good enough. Like, constantly just questioning, like, when is my turn gonna come? Like, those kinds of things. So one day I just decided that I just didn't want to feel like this anymore, right? It's like, I don't know what else to do, right? It's kind of like that ultimate frustration. It's like, Swami, what do I do here? And so I ended up writing a letter to Swami. And in this letter, I just asked him for peace of mind for my mind and heart. That's it. That's all I asked him for. And, in the letter, I also said that I would accept whatever it is that you willed for me, but I just wanted the peace. So I wrote the letter, I took it, I put it at the altar, went about my business, right? I just did. And so after I wrote the letter, probably like a day or 2 after, it's like I felt like this weight had just been lifted off of my shoulders. But I still wasn't quite sure like what that really meant, so then very soon afterwards, I start getting all of these different phone calls, these emails, like, we want you to interview here. We want you to the point to where I was just like, okay, Swami, like you, I went from like 0 to like 100, right? It's like, what is this? But went through that process. And then I'm happy to say that I'm going to be starting in a new role that, I always wanted, right? It's like, this is like the role that I wanted. So it's because of that favorable outcome why I'm sharing all these experiences with you today, right? So it was only, I think, after I surrendered myself to Swami and his will, and surrendered my ego part also, right? That the peace came after that. And I probably also would not have, seen the reason why if I hadn't been patient enough just to like stick it out and wait, right? So that's it's like, talk about like a hard test, right? That's like the worst final exam ever.
Right.
But so that's that. And then I just really want to close out with something that I had written as part of a personal reflection. There was a program that the Houston YAs conducted for Ishwarama Day, called Loving Mother Sai, and this was probably around like 2010.
Wow.
And so, this is how I ended my personal reflection. So I just wanted to end it the same way with you guys. So you are the strength that keeps me walking. You are the hope that keeps me trusting. You are the light to my soul. You are my everything. So that's how I ended that. And I think I'll just leave it there. And thank you everybody again for, the opportunity to speak to you, for listening to me speak. And a special thanks to Sriram and all the Region 10 YAs for providing this amazing platform to be able to, share these kinds of experiences. And that's it. Sairam, everyone.
Hey, thank you so much, Meera. And thanks to Swami. If not for the positive outcome, we wouldn't get to hear from you, So I got to thank him first and foremost, for, doing what you've always wanted. And a good soul like you, you deserve, all the good things in life. And I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. You're special to us, and you mean so much to us. Not just as a group of people, but in general. I think in the Sai circle, having grown up, and I'm genuinely thrilled for you. I'm so excited about the role that you're and the whole new journey that you're about to embark on. I think I kind of wanted to ask you, right, when in terms of, just for me to understand, in terms of when you said that, through that relationship, and then you sang that bhajan, and then the flower fell, and how did you? So when you said you wanted something concrete, did you actually have a definition of what you wanted as concrete? Did you actually define as something along these lines happen? I will take that as a definite yes. What and did this falling of the flower be one amongst those? I'm just curious, what constituted a concrete one according to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be very egotistical to say that, like, okay, Swami, the only sign I'm ever going to accept from you is if I sing this bhajan and this flower falls, right? That means you're listening to me. Like, but I think at that moment, when I thought about concrete, I was just like, I just want something that's going to like hit me in the face, to where it was like, there's no doubt, there's no anything, right? Like no misinterpretations, anything like that. And I think he just chose to use that channel, right? Because I was sitting like in the front row, towards the end of the row, because it was like a it was pretty, I mean, it was pretty crowded because it was like a special occasion bhajan, right? So like a lot of people came out or whatever. So usually, in this YA's house, like I would be, right in the front, like playing harmonium and sing. So it's like you have the direct line of vision, right? It's like you
Right.
look up, Swami's picture is here, you'll be able to see everything that's going on.
Right.
But my space, my place at that time was a little more towards the end of the row.
Mm.
So so I guess that's just the method that he wanted to use at that moment, right? Because there was no mistaking. It's like, okay, one flower falls, okay. It's like, okay, divine occurrence, right? When you
Right.
see two fall, it's kind of like, okay,
Huh.
but then that third one comes and you're like, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Like,
That nails
so
it for me.
yeah, so it's just kind of like that's it, right? There's no misinterpreting anything. And I think it's just that heart to heart connection that you share also, right?
Right. Right.
So it's like where your mind is at that time. So
Right. And it almost seems like Swami is, you've donned different hats, played a lot of different roles, even within the Sai, group out here, here in Houston and stuff. And it almost seems like you talked about, Swami has been this, in one sense, a difficult teacher in the sense, in terms of the exams he's given you. It seems like he's given you some stern tests to kind of deepen your faith, and as well as your belief and your trust in Bhagwan. And um, through all of this, like what Sister Visalakshi was mentioning about, it seems like, this, in the simple things, Sister Visalakshi was able to kind of feel the presence of Sai through these difficult moments, be it a relationship, be it work related incidents in your life. Whenever you felt low, is writing to Swami, or writing a letter to Swami, your go-to way or means of trying to offload, or what else have you done, or what has happened, that is, and what's your way of dealing with that low, in one sense, to kind of lift that burden off your chest?
that's interesting. I think the letter writing came like from kind of like a young age almost,
Mm.
in the sense of, when we were kids, my sister and I,
Mm.
and my mom would take us to Puttaparthi on our trips to India. Like we would always make a trip to Puttaparthi and all of that stuff. She would always tell us that it's anything that you want from Swami, um, write him a letter and he may take it.
Mm.
And if he takes it, then that means it's going to happen. But then also she said that the minute that you write it on the page,
Mm.
you can't scratch anything out and start over again, right? It's like your thoughts are going directly to the page.
Deeper.
So I always grew, me and my sister and I always grew up with this idea that it's like once it's on this paper, like it's final, right? So it's like whether you're happy and you're asking for something, or whether you're angry or sad or whatever, it's like there should be nothing that's scratched out on that paper and rewritten, right?
Mm.
So it's like the direct translation of thought to paper.
Mm.
And then she always said that it was very divine if Swami happened to pick up your letter,
Mm.
right? So growing up, if a devotee were to go to India and they were asking for, oh, if anybody has any letters for Swami or anything like that,
Mm.
and then we happened to hear back that those letters were taken in the darshan line or something like that, like it was really like an elating feeling, because like, wow, like he has my thoughts, right? It was like that. So that's kind of where it came. I guess it just came from childhood, really. So
Okay. And kind of the other thing that I wanted to ask you is, when you say Swami, you've talked about Swami the parent, you talked about Swami the stern teacher, the teacher who's given you stern tests, and then Swami, the friend. So in one sense, how do you actually carry this friend along with you? Are you someone who happens to have, I know a lot of, Sai sisters, have these vocal conversations with Bhagwan. Are you one of those who happens to indulge in these conversations, or what's your way of connecting to this friend of this dear friend of yours?
I think it's just more of like it's like a constant awareness almost
Uh,
that this person is here, right? So anytime say something say something goes great in life, right? My first instinct is to always be like thank you, Swami. You
mm,
know, like that's the first instinct.
mm,
Or like if I'm in my, it's like this little habits, right? It's like if I'm in my car or something, and I get some good news or something like that, like I'll kiss my fingers and touch the ceiling of the car, so it's like kind of like, it's like thank you, um and then say for example, if something doesn't really go my way,
mm.
or it's like I'm just I'll be like, Swami, really? like is this what you have to do? Like, it's like it's just, so it's just kind of like that. It's never been like a very formal thing for me,
Mm.
unless like I mean the instances that I described today are quite like the extreme, right? Like
Right.
where I'll sit in front of an altar and talk and stuff. But like for the most part, I'll just be like, really? Like I'll look up and be like, really? Or like or something like that, right? So it's just kind of like one of those. It's
Mm.
like that constant awareness almost.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah, that's amazing. And what I wanted to quickly ask you was, have you, is it in your in this constant awareness that you talk about, and how did this come about in one sense, or okay, do you even uh actually recollect, or have figured out how this constant awareness has come about? Because it's one thing to say, Swami, yeah, come on, Swami, is this what you have
Right.
planned? And during the tough moments, it's easy to go to him and say, come on, dude, is this what you have
Yeah.
planned out? But the important thing that you said right now was, even when something good, that any small thing that happens that is good, and you thank him, that gratitude, incidentally, on this weekend of Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
that gratitude that you constantly express to Swami, and you say that it's not just you need a picture or an altar, in one sense, to constantly feel this sense of awareness. Rather, it has become a second nature and akin to you, in one sense, to have this
Yeah.
constant feeling, and to thank him, importantly, for any small thing that goes your way. How did that come about? Because people can easily take to Swami during difficult times, but even during the simple things that happen in your life, and when good things happen, sometimes people like me forget to thank Swami. So how is it that, if you can tell me, or if you can recollect, how this Swami has become a constant companion, because that's so important, I think, in our
I
job.
I mean, honestly, I think like growing up in the SSE program, I think like starting from like such a young age, I think a lot of that is attributed, right? Because the messaging in the SSE classrooms is not just that Swami is just this entity, right? It's like he's just not. It's like he's in everything. He is everything. And so I think it's a lot of it, comes from that constant reinforcement, right? And like Sister Visalakshi said too earlier, you can take in all the knowledge you want, but then when the experience comes, it's like that's when that like aha, like light bulb moment comes, and you're like, wow, okay, this makes sense,
Mm,
right? And I think I had to have a few of those to be like, okay, it's like you're around, like you're hearing me, and these experiences that I just chose to talk about are just not the exclusive three, right? I just thought that it kind of just shows the the entire picture, as opposed to just, so there's always been like little things, even my parents and I were were watching something on TV, like some YouTube like Indian serial or something, right? Like some Tamil serial or something. And you know, when I got the message that, you know, Swami had, you know, my name had been chosen in front of Swami to speak, you know, it's like maybe a couple scenes later, it's like she walks into this apartment, the character in the show, and there's Swami's picture on the wall.
Oh, wow.
You know, so it's like even like little things like that. And then, you know, you know, the owner of the apartment building happened to be a Sai devotee, right? It's like, so it's like things like that that just kind of bring it all back together. It's like he's literally everywhere. It's, you know, it's like sometimes it's shocking, like, whoa, like where did this come from, right? So I think a lot of that is attributed to you know, where this kind of like constant awareness, you know, kind of lies and stuff. Yeah.
Probably my final question for you, so that before I open up the floor, is, you know, because I think it's an important one. It seems like, you know, when that friend of yours, you know, when that incident happened to him,
Yeah.
and how you said you lost, you started questioning everything, and
Correct.
you know, in one sense, you said you kind of veered away slightly from Sai activities. I don't know if you know, if that's what you meant, but in one sense you circled back, and so I just want to understand what made you circle back. In one sense, was it your parents or someone constantly you know, being after you, telling you that you need to turn back to Swami, or what about it suddenly led you to U-turn and go back into the thick of things, if one may say? And the other thing is, you know, how, and say even through the relationship incident that you've described, I think one important thing that we need to learn in life is learn to forgive. And through the incidences that have happened, how have you learned to, in one sense, forgive and potentially forget and move on through both these incidences? I just wanted to ask you that because there's so much for us to learn from those, you know, from what you just described.
Yeah, I mean, I think the circling back was more of, you know, I, you know, I just felt like, you know, I just didn't like, I felt like, in the sense that, it's like, okay, it's like I've learned all this stuff throughout my life. And then here comes this one like sudden instance
Hmm.
that makes me just question everything, right? So I was just very much like, I guess in a way it was very naive too, right? Because, you know, looking at it from, oh, okay, if something bad happens, like, oh, okay, well, it's all Swami's fault. Like, you know, like I think that's just that very like I really correlated to a very immature child, you know, just wanting everything just great from their parents all the time.
Right.
And so, you know, for me to react that way, like looking back now, it's like, okay, I should have been a little more objective, right? When you think about it. But when you're in the moment, you're just like, it's like, like, it's like, you know, it's like you did me wrong, right? It's like the same way that a mom, like a kid would be like to their mom that said that they couldn't have, like they couldn't go to this party or whatever, right? Like just that very immature, like, well, if you're not going to give me what I want, then forget it. Like I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to do that. Um, so I think it was more of, what I really feel was like, you know, Swami was speaking through my mom when she said those words.
Hmm.
You know, it's like, you know, talking about like that, how to start that healing process, like how to, you know, put your, you know, it's like where does that strength come from, right? It doesn't come externally. It comes from something within you.
Hmm.
And we all have that,
Hmm.
but you just have to restore that faith back, right? So it's like, to me, it's like Swami's telling me like, come back. Like, you know,
Hmm.
the only way that you're going to be able to deal with this is if you come back to me,
Ah.
you know. um and so, you know, with the relationship incidents also, I think be because I was older,
Mm.
you know, it kind of took, I mean, it took me a little bit to be able to forgive, right? All of, you know, all the instances that had happened and all that stuff. And it's easy to blame it on one person,
Right.
right? But you know, growth is looking at it from two lenses.
Mm.
So for me, it was like, okay, if I had listened to my intuition earlier,
Mm.
it may not have gotten this far, and then, you know, all of this wouldn't have had to happen. But then the beauty of the experience is that, you know, Swami really showed his presence in that experience, right? So it's like you have to look at it from the balancing scale. It's like it's never all bad and it's never all good.
Right. Right.
So I think that's where the forgiveness came from. So
Mm.
yeah.
Hey, thank you so much, Meera. Anybody else? Sorry, I took a little too long posing one too many questions. Sorry about that. Guys, anybody else have any thoughts or questions for Meera?
Hey, Saira Meera, I think I was really intrigued and I was in a state of awe. The reason for that is I have known you grow up. All I could see your baby face and all the smile, but I felt you are pretty strong, determined, a lady who has grown spiritually advanced for your age. I think it's often said growing old is inevitable, but growing up is optional. And I feel I couldn't say you really grew up. The reason for me saying it is majority of us speak uh, all the experiences, good experiences we had in all of these satsang. But I was stunned in the sense that you brought the realities of life where you faced it with such poise. Like, for example, you lost your friend, I suppose, and then you had a bad relationship, you lost your job. These are some things that any one of us face. And the beauty of it is you took us to the journey of how anybody could face it and how a normal human being can come out of it. And that is the thing that I felt was a very, very practical example. And you also said how I think the key essence of what I can conclude or I got from you, or probably the faith that you had in Swami. I always believe without faith you have a hopeless end, but with faith in Swami you have an endless hope. And exactly you had that. And the other beauty of what you said was you had the patience. I think patience is not waiting, but having the right attitude while you're waiting. Faith, patience, and what else did I have? Acceptance. That's a very, and I think if I could speak one Telugu statement, Idi na manchi kosame. This is for my good. Is the way that you took when things didn't happen the way you wanted. And the other part I felt was there were too many things that were so practical, because most of us can easily talk about it unless you're put in it. I can talk in the study circle only to find when I come out of it, I'm a miserable failure. And the key thing is the theoretical aspect of what you said is good, but you pass the practical. That is the key aspect of it. And I think the awareness, the key thing is the awareness helps you to make an attempt to change. And I think you are a CIA, I would say. That means commitment in action. And I feel I was in a, I didn't know what to say except that you, when you said Swami is like my mother. I think Swami who can wipe away your tear, and you also depended on Swami as a father who could dispel your fear, and you also treated him as a true friend in whom you confided. And because of the faith you had, you experienced it. You experienced the three flowers falling. It is because of your intense desire and faith, is what I feel. That is a very, very practical way of applying Swami's faith. And that is the key thing. I can speak theoretically standing up, but putting it into practice is the key thing. And I always say this, we all have Facebook, a lot of friends, right? But the only true friend we have is the one who could read your face as a book. And you let Swami read your face as a book and surrender to him. And I think, oh, you made my day today, Meera. I never known the other side of Meera. All I could see her as a big smile, because a smile is a curve that can keep things straight, and you just did it. But you are a strong character.
Absolutely.
And the character is, the beauty of it is, I don't know, I don't have enough words to say it, because the experience most of us, when we are in a very, in a very, very bad situation, that's the time we turn around. You went through the process, but you made a U-turn to know that Swami is a good friend who cannot betray you. And that is the beauty of it. And I think I've learned a lot of lessons as to how faith, acceptance, awareness, attempt are the key thing for when things happen to me. And I didn't even know that you had gone through. You are such a strong lady. I couldn't believe it. You are far advanced spiritually for the age. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your experience, which is very practical. That's the key thing for me. A lot of lessons. Thanks a lot, Sairam.
No, thank you, Ravi uncle, for all those kind words, that, like I said, I just don't talk about a lot of the stuff, so it's like, it's only when I'm forced to do it, and I actually have to put like a pen to paper and say, okay, like, what am I going to talk about in this thing, that things just kind of come out. So no,
for me, talking is one thing, Meera, but experiencing, applying Swami's teaching is where I was so amazed. I can talk theoretically, I can give these, but going through this, like when Arthur Ashe, if I'm correct, when he was diagnosed with cancer, why me is what people are saying, but then he went ahead and said, why is that when I won the US Open, I didn't ask why me? It is only when we suffer, we say, why me? But you went through it and made a U-turn applying Swami's teaching. That is the beauty of it. Theoretical knowledge is good. Practical knowledge is where I loved how you came out of it. And that's what touched my heart. Thank you, Sairam.
And as ever, for keeping it so real. Much love to you. These are the kind of stories and journeys that we want to hear in My Sai and I. It's not this amazing miracle. Yeah, great. Those miracles and those stories have their places too. But this is true miracle in one sense, because this is very relatable, very real, and the turning around is the miracle. And you seem to have not just turned around, but actually become pretty deeply enmeshed with Sai. So, so much so he's in your constant, you feel his constant presence. I think both of you, both Sister Visalakshi and you, I think have drilled that home to me. And I think something as simple as not scratching anything and just that plain word, the thought to, word connection that you mentioned in about writing that letter, something as simple as that, so beautiful, that you really bring out whatever is within you and you put that down and then render it to Swami and offer it, and Swami will take care. Something as simple as that I take home and I'll hold dear to my heart. There's so much to unpack from what you shared. I can't thank you enough, Meera. I'm so thankful to Swami first that he turned the situation around so much so you agreed to share. I know I've been talking to you and I know some of the things that you've gone through, but it's just to hear some of the other stuff and to see this whole curve. There's so much for me to learn personally, and I'm so grateful to you.
Hey, one more thing about Meera, she's an excellent singer. And in fact, in spite of me coaching her, she did an excellent job. And she had been very much involved as a SSC Bhajan coordinator too. And I think, and her dedication was something that I don't have much words to describe. She was there every week, training all the kids until she became the YA coordinator. And I want to recognize that here also.
Oh, no, thank you so much for all of that.
I know we've gone a good 10 minutes past 7:30, but it was worth it. Anybody else have any other comments or questions? Sorry about this, Meera, but we'll wrap it up in the next minute or so. Sorry, everyone. Going once, going twice. Okay, so then I think, thank you everyone. Again, as ever, all these My Sai and I sessions, like I say, every month in, month out, believe me, there's not been a single session wherein I haven't been involved. And today, as ever, and it was extra special to me that that you were on, Meera, and Sister Visalakshi, who a week ago I didn't know existed in the Sai world, and here she is. And it's so beautiful, these My Sai and I sessions, because all of you, like, the poster says, from the heart, for the heart and through the heart, and that's exact, all of you guys stay true to that, and through Swami's words as to how a story should be told and how these experiences should be shared, and you guys keep it from the heart and through the heart and to our hearts. You guys absolute living arrows that absolutely totally enrich us. So thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much, Meera, and thank you so much, Sister Visalakshi. I think we'll end it. Meera, you can end it with Om and three Shantis.
Okay. Yeah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Sairam, everyone.
Sairam, thank you.
So thank you so much, Meera.
Sairam, thank you.